not so important like earthquakes, but people want to have also joy. Maybe just a short explanation where's TU Dresden, and you see I'm working at WER Group, so I come from the university, it's still a university project, and then just spread the word and the idea. Maybe it helps other people also to make OpenStreetMap better. So, what was our aim, what we want to achieve? A map. I have studied cartography, I have working a long time at the Institute of Cartography, and we try to make a hiking map in the Great Caucasus. About this little small peak where it's about 4,000 and something meter, and where there are the mapping people in front of us. So it's somewhere in Georgia. It's an old cultural region which is very special and somewhat touristic, and we get the contract with the Alpine Club. We would be interesting to have a map there, and we say, okay, we try to give our best to make this. And so I found some aspects around where I now want to talk, how to find the mapping features, how to map features, how to do this in field, how to collect names that you need for a map, and you know that they are missing, and just give you some review before and after mapping, before coming to the conclusion. So, what's the overall idea? We are working with OpenStreetMap. I brought this idea to the team and to say, okay, let's try this. If you do this, then it's fine. So we started with OpenStreetMap. We built already a map for us that we can go out just as a digital map and a printing map, and when we try to update it is after data collection. It did the data, and we have a daily circle updating our maps so that we can see the progress. There was the focus on the ways and the roads, and also on the names. Mostly buildings and rivers was more a side topic. You can better see this in aerial images, but ways and roads and names you have to be made in place. So, what was the overall workflow to get a map? We bring OpenStreetMap into a database. We add also some land cover classification, because we say, okay, we don't want to make don't want to vectorize the land cover by hand. Let's do this automated. It's more consistent. We state this extra, and also we take the SRTM elevation model to get a map. And we collected old maps, from military maps, topographic map, hiking maps, georeferenced it, and put it over it so that we get an overview what we have according to OpenStreetMap, and that is probably missing if the other maps are right. So, to go to the field, we have to bring the map into a handy format. So the idea was, okay, we make something like a handbook, an A4 format, where you have just a grid splitting the map as atlas. So, who was mapping? The advantage of a university, you have students. Students are happy to help, happy to learn, and we was also happy, okay, we can go out, you get that time for hiking, we pay the accommodation, and you help us making the map. So we have a little budget to travel there, to teach the students, and to make something there. We were there 2 times, so you see here the group photos also. So, what we did in advanced, we're hunting more or less the unknown things. So we looked on the old maps. I just give you an impression what we get in advanced. That's the military maps. It's from the 80s. The nice thing, there were some expeditions around 1900s. We also made maps and write about their experience getting there, how it was, how nice, and we made also maps and collected some names. Was quite a good source for later. And we have not so old maps, which also from the 80s. They say, okay, with these kinds of maps for people traveling to this region and go hiking. I can't imagine this today. I've circled here the Mount Ushba, hard to distinguish in this kind of map. So, we put all this map over each other, and tried to digitize the ways that are missing in OpenStreetMap so that we can find the information that is missing. And we do this in QGIS. I've built here a form that you can say, okay, I've seen here path on the map. We know is it true or is not true already. In some cases also OpenStreetMap was wrong. And we put there some native names or English names and put there also checkboxes for the different sources so that we can estimate how properly this way will collect. It was so also a bit the evaluation and studying of sources. We had a special focus on critical points like bridges and river crossings so that we say, okay, we don't want to stuck over a river and hiking back 10 kilometers, so you have to focus, this bridge should be here. And sometimes we ask also the locals, is there a bridge? And we said yes, or is there a path? Mostly we are correct. In some ways, we didn't find the path. We don't know what happens sometimes. So in advance, before heading out, we tried to collect these routes to groups where we can say we send our students, at least 2 students going out, that we don't be alone. If something happens, we checked these bridges. It's here, it's maybe a bit hard, so that we have a rough idea how many days of mapping we need. We were there in summer, but summer is also about rain and thunder, so you can expect if you have 2 weeks there, not every day is mapping possible, and not everyone want to go in a high mountain environment every day hiking. That's too much. So we have roughly idea what was required to prepare the field group. You see here 3 different colors for the groups. We split it off. We started the group together because we needed transport by car to start there, and then we are leaving on different ways. Some group was going here to search this way. This way was not existing. Others going here and say, okay, we found this way, but we have to stop at the point because we say a time, please return at this time, we need another pickup. And other people just going up here and coming down and finding the way to the village. After being 1 year, you have a rough idea where you can work or not work and where will be a path or not. You can see where the another map, there was numbers on it, so it's for the grouping for the days. So more a detailed example of a mapping tour. We have made this kind of map here. It's showing something like the final map style. And here with this something red on it, that was the proposed ways that we want to find. So we walked here, go over here, checked. So here in pink you can see the GPS tracks where we walked. Until here was already OpenStreetMap mapped, and we know, okay, here should maybe something like a path. We found it was an old settlement, it was gone. From the old maps we get the name of it. So we can add this to OpenStreetMap, and we walked over here. Coming down here was happily a bridge. The other way here we didn't find, we go down here to the meadow, we didn't find the starting point. I will later show you that was a good idea not to go further, because the old settlement was quite nice. We have this kind of towers always there as defense, that was still staying. We have this bridge, and this looks maybe a bit tiny, this bridge, but there's no other way to cross this river. It is really deep. You can't go otherwise over it. Because we also see the other bridge from the maps, and you can see they're just, it's gone. Would be very hard if you're standing off the other side and say, okay, now I have to go back all this way and don't find the other things. So overall, we're taking these photos, we have the GPS routes, so we have also a documentation of what we have found and can use this for mapping. And we later brought this information at their time and place or later at home to OpenStreetMap. So just to give you a rough impression, that was 2021 before we started mapping. This is 2023. I hope you can see there are some changes. So I've marked some things here. So we have found this way over here. Otherwise, you have to go this long way around if you want to walk there. So we found this way. This one was easily seeable on aerial images over there. There were some images. There was also hiking routes, which was we marked. We added to OpenStreetMap. We added the name of this village. We were still wondering, driving with the car to it. We can't find it on the map. So these villages have a special kind. There's called village communities, and there's always this community name on the signs, that was Latali. But I don't know how this get to OpenStreetMap. The other names was these little parts of the village community that was mapped. So we have to readjust it a bit and put where Latali, also where the people say, okay, Latali is hopefully the overall of it. Here the example that I had explained, the mapping tour. Here, this way was missing. Sadly, we had sent 2 students there, and we was a bit pissed coming back and say, sorry guys, you have sent us into the wood. And this was a very steep way going up without a way. But this happens. So sometimes you can't trust OpenStreetMap. Also, if you're going back maybe to this one, it was roughly digitized, where someone say, okay, I've walked here, I can't see it on the images because the forest is so dense. And when we worked here, added by the GPS route, now it's clearly to see. So buildings were also a part for us, but we can see them on the aerial image mostly. We looked around and say, okay, the AI can help us with the rapid ID. So if you're scrolling around, this is a misalignment because the Bing layer doesn't fit very well. But overall, if you have the idea and the AI-generated buildings, you can see, oh, there's maybe something missing. Then you can have a closer look, but makes it easier to add more buildings if you have no idea on looking, oh, now I have to find the missing buildings. So it can help also in such cases if your buildings are already there, but you need to add and check them. So the other missing part, names. Where to find names. So you can ask locals. But if you ask them for names, what should I tell you? I know everything here. What do you need? So it's a pretty hard start. We started with the signposts, where you can check the names, where it was written. We have guidebooks. There's also accumulated knowledge, and we have maps. And when we tried to assemble them in the same way like with the ways, collecting them in different languages, the special thing, Georgian with this special alphabet makes it more complicated. We have Russian there, we have the English transliteration there, so are many different languages around there that we have to collect and to make sometimes also a meaningful transliteration. Because the last example here, Western Skelda, we have Russian students, and can you translate it first? And the result was Zapatnaya Skelda. I was remembering my bit skills about Slavic languages. Zapatnaya means something with Western. Okay, we have to do something more. We can't add this really to OpenStreetMap. We have to go further. It means the Western Skelda because it's the east part. Just doing a transliteration is sometimes not enough. You have also to think about with more knowledge. So, this is our mask where you see we collected this again. The native name, pretty crazy. The English name, Georgian name, Svaneti name, a local language, and the Russian name, and the checkboxes for the different names. So, sometimes you have also funny stories. Students or other people helping us, bringing, oh, I find a new guidebook. And when I am whistling, starting going over it, oh, there are maps in it. Oh, there are Mapbox maps from OpenStreetMap. As stands at the end, how it matters. And when you find, oh, someone has added more names than in OpenStreetMap. Nice. When you go and ask the locals, we found some people, yeah, that's right. Or sometimes we found even looking around, we say, okay, this church is called, and in this map it has the same name, so maybe it's the name of the village there. So it's about searching and hunting always these names to find this. Sometimes there are also area errors, ambiguities, where say a hiking guide have also sometimes two different forms of the same name for a village in it, and we don't check it. Was okay, this is kind of confusing for me, but it was it. We collected these images when I made a table, added this to a map, and we have some locals, and when I ask with the name I found, and I get back the information how it's written correctly, or looked at the old maps. After I filled this table, I put this to OpenStreetMap, and hopefully I made everything else, everything right. Otherwise, now OpenStreetMap has got new names for some features. So, it was also quite interesting to look at the different maps we found. The Germans were also in World War II there, made their own maps, was quite helpful for these community names because it was shown here in a very good way. Because the English maps show this also. It's also interesting to see how the German and the English would write them. Because the recent maps a bit complicated. Lengeri means this community of villages here. Seeing this map the first time, I don't understand what we mean. Is this cliff called this way? What we mean? Here we mean this, the ski area. So it was quite hard. And after being there and going mapping, I can say, okay, you're showing here a way that doesn't exist. And it's the recent topographic map of Georgia. There are other examples where I see, okay, OpenStreetMap is the more or less better data source. This is 2021, and now afterwards we added some ways, we found more informations, and also the parts of the more or less big city Mestia have also get names. So, coming to my conclusion, what's needed? Mostly time, ideas, and hopefully a bit experience working with GIS technology, with editing OpenStreetMaps, and people who have time and willing to help you. With the locals, with the right language, you have to find people. Was easy at the university, but still needs time. So we started in 2021. I'm still working on the map, time for time, adding some things, fixing problems, going on. So we hopefully will come to an end this year. I hope so. But it's not to be underestimated time which is needed. You can do many things from remote, but finding ways in dense forests or finding names you can't do from remote. You have to be there, speak to the people, connect to people, ask them. Sometimes we're happy to help, but we had also the expecting that someone was interested in mapping OpenStreetMap, and after being there, I say, okay, we have other problems like editing OpenStreetMap there. So it's kind of luxury hobby going to Georgia and mapping there, but currently it helps them. Yeah, if you want to do this for your own, familiarize yourself with the local conditions, history, ledger, language, nature, collect sources like them old maps, whatever you can get, merge them visually that you collect this information, plan the on-site validation, do it on-site, and add it in the end to OpenStreetMap. Thank you.